No.
We are live.
We're
We're
live.
live.
Hey, everybody.
Let's give it a second. Let the people get on in here. Friday Night Live, Mad Monster, Sergeant Horror, Mark Richardson. We're going to be talking about some crazy horror stuff like your top 10 favorite horror movies of all times. And everybody that's watching, feel free to chime in the comments. We'll be trying to answer all the comments. Hope everybody's doing great today. We got 2 people in here, 3 people in here now. As y'all join in, be sure to share it up. If you're on Facebook, we're going live simultaneously on YouTube. If you prefer to watch us on YouTube, you can tune in and subscribe to the Mad Monster channel on YouTube. What's been going on? What's going on out there in LA, Mark?
Just being quarantined. I live, if you guys know me, I live by the beach, so there's been a lot of stuff going on there. But we're having fluorescent tide. It's called red tide, and at nighttime it looks like the ocean has black lights in it, and you hit the water and it glows fluorescent green. And it's the creepiest, coolest thing in the world. And when I was younger, I used to surf. We used to surf the pier, and a fish that was like 6 inches long would look like a shark when you're out there because you just see this huge thing glowing. It's pretty badass. It doesn't happen that much. It's not good to be in the water, but it's just so badass to experience it. But that's like the highlight of my life is right now because it's pretty boring.
Yeah, I'm out here. I kind of keep life simple out here in near Greensboro, North Carolina, in the country on the farm. Take care of myself, take care of animals a little bit, and take care of people in the basement, and sit around and watch a bunch of horror movies. Josh, welcome. Dennis, welcome. Josh commented the Devil's Rejects. I tell you, if Rob decides he's going to reboot the Devil's Rejects again, can you tell him I'll be game to do it, Sergeant Horror, commit to it? As long as I don't have to do nothing too crazy.
I got to do the shootout at the fire. I think I brought it up before. At the Firefly Ranch, I was part of the prop team that was doing all the weapons. And the prop master on the Devil's Rejects was a great guy. He moved to Australia, and I used to work with him on Angel. He let me be the prop master on the last day, and I'm such a fanboy, and it gets me in trouble with these prop guys, but I'm such a fanboy. I just ate it up. I just enjoyed working on that show. To be there with Bill Moseley and Cherry and Sid Haig. It was just amazing. And watching them shooting guns and acting and improvising, which was really cool. I remember we were at the Firefly House, and that was at a place called Saugus. No, it was in Santa Clarita area. I remember I was at craft service and the door was open and Rob was talking to Sherry, and he said, Joey Ramone's dying. And that's how I found out that Joey Ramone was dying, was Rob talking to her, and he was devastated. And it was kind of surreal because I was outside the window of the Firefly watching him and Sherry really being emotionally upset about it. But, Rob's a professional and he carried on and did it. But that's when I found out that he was dying. It was while I was working on Devil's Rejects.
Patrick said, hi, Mark. I'll put his comment on here so you can see it.
Hey, Patrick. Hey. He just joined Icona.
I like that shirt. I might have to get me one like that we could match.
They did this thing in LA where they did highlights of horror films, and they recreated The Shining and Friday the 13th, and you can go there and do photo ops in these places that were recreations of classic horror films. And I wore this shirt and blended into the wall. I had a blast on that place.
Yeah, I can only imagine. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to once this quarantine's coming up. I'm thinking about Sergeant Horror needs to come out to L.A. and hang out with y'all Hollywood types and see how things go on.
I could take you some pretty cool-ass places.
Yeah, I'd be interested because, there's so many places out there that people filmed, and I like American Horror Story, and people say the Hotel Cortez, but For those of y'all that don't know who Mark is, Mark has a group, Horrorcana. We'll post a link up here. Y'all could join it if you're looking for a good horror group to join on Facebook. But he is a prop extraordinaire in the industry, responsible for all the props for the Power Rangers on the first 10 seasons, horror movies like The Devil's Rejects. I mean, you name it, he's done it. If he ain't done it, I'm going to lie and say he has done it because he's done pretty much everything. Check him out on IMDb if you don't believe me. The list is just too long to believe, but we're just lucky to have him on here talking about horror movies. Alex, start giving us their top 10. Jacob's Ladder, The Black Hole, Omen. Now, do you got your top 10 list there, Mark?
Yeah, I do.
I got mine. The problem with top 10 lists like this is my list is always evolving because I'll rewatch something and I'll say, you know, maybe I should bump this one and add this one because I forgot a scene or something strikes me as I didn't appreciate it the first time I watched it. I'm gonna start out with my number 10, which is House of a Thousand Corpses. I just love that movie just because of the coloring and the feel of it, and Sid Haig's performance as Captain Spaulding. I mean, it was just kind of like it blew my mind when it first came out because it was kind of new and fresh for an independent movie. What do you have as your number 10 there, Mark?
I wanted to bring up Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios did the horror ride as one of the mazes. And it was the original sets, so you would actually get to walk through the horror ride from House of a Thousand Corpses. And it wasn't advertised because Rob did do a maze later on, but it was one of the coolest. If you're a fan of that movie, it was the props. They recreated everything, and it was just really good. For number 10, I'm going to go with Near Dark. I love that movie. I love the feel of it. I love the Western cowboy vampires of it. Bill Paxton, Lance Henderson are just brilliant in that movie. And other films that I like that's in that genre is like 30 Days of Nights, Innocent Blood, and Nosferatu. But I think for number 10, Near Dark's a solid 10. And and let's face it, these films always do fluctuate back and forth. But Near Dark's always going to be one of my favorite top 10 films.
Now, you guys watching, what do y'all think of Near Dark, House of a Thousand Corpses? Jackson said the House of a Thousand Corpses was the best houses last year at the Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, it was.
You know, I have to come out there if they do that again, and that's at Universal in Hollywood, California.
They're Universal, California, and Florida, and I'm a California boy, but Florida kicks our ass every year. We had a couple fatalities early on. We were the first to start it in California, and we had some major accidents, and we got shut down for a couple of years, and Florida kept doing it. But I have to go to Halloween Horror Nights in Florida every year. It's just brilliant. It's so good.
Well, I'm going to throw up Hunter Wayne. Welcome. He says Lords of Illusion is one on his list.
Great movie.
Alex says Clockwork Orange, Leprechaun, The Santa Sangre, Pan's Labyrinth, The Hunger, and Romero Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. That's a pretty good list too. Let me jump on. My number 9 is I got to go return some videotapes, which is American Psycho. I love Christian Bale. Like, a lot of people don't remember when that movie was first announced. Everybody's like, Christian Bale's a model. He can't act. And he did a heck of a job. I mean, he was more than a pretty face. I love that scene where he's working out and Texas Chainsaw Massacre is playing in the background. That's just an awesome scene. I love it. If you hadn't got a chance, check out what Mad Monster did with the American Psycho movies in 60 seconds. That's pretty humorous. What do you have on your number 9?
I just want to reiterate that, the fact that they had Texas Chainsaw Massacre was brilliant, and Huey Lewis in the News. You know, it's like such a weird combination of, what he's influenced by, and I just love that. Number 9, I'm going with Romero's Dawn of the Dead. I love. I mean, that was the movie when I saw that film was the most shocking experience I ever had. When that zombie bites the neck of his wife and rips it out, I'd never seen anything like that, and I was still in shock when they blew the guy's head open. It was one of those films that changed my life. It was a late night theater. I just remember being frightened and just in awe of the gore and this. And I always think it's. And once again, Dawn of the Dead is always going to be in my top 10. Now the remake I liked a lot, but it took me a while because everybody told me how they had running zombies, and I was like, I ain't gonna go to this movie. How dare they? But when I saw the first 10 minutes of the remake, I was like, oh my God, what a great movie. But I just want to also mention a couple honorable mentions for me. Day of the Dead, I also like a lot, but it doesn't compare to Dawn for me. And Zombie, that scene where that zombie bites the bull shark is amazing. To this day, I think one of the greatest cinematic horror shots in the world, where guys underwater in a zombie costume taking a bite out of a shark. How brilliant is that? But Dawn of the Dead is my number 9.
Yeah, Angela mentions American Psycho was great, but the book was more disturbing. And I would have to agree. I remember when the book got banned for a while. A lot of people don't remember that. That was just a weird book. They said it was a manual for how to be a serial killer.
I remember that. That.
Michael says Dawn of the Dead is solid. It is solid. I mean, Dawn of the Dead, Romero was an extraordinary filmmaker. And when I go back and watch some of these documentaries and look at his interviews, one, I want to get me a pair of Romero glasses. I think I'd look good in some glasses like Romero used to wear. I mean, I really do. Probably help my vision out too. But he was a very, when Night of the Living Dead came out, I mean, that was made as an independent movie in the spirit of independent movies. And it was almost unheard of at that time, in my opinion, for somebody from Pittsburgh Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
To get into the industry and make such a marvelous movie. But that he's extraordinary.
It's a fantastic film. And Night of the Living Dead, broke off. Night of the Living Dead, like the Universal Monsters, set the canon for zombie films. Like Dracula. After Dracula, that's the canon of Dracula. That's the way we make vampires. After Night of the Living Dead, that's how we made our zombies. Although they were a little bit smarter than most zombies. I mean, the little girl knew to pick up the trowel when she took out her mom and stuff. But yeah, Night of the Living Dead is a brilliant movie, and it should be like my number 9 too.
Yeah, I was torn because Night of the Living Dead isn't on mine. But I love the original, but I also love the remake with Tony.
Oh, really? Wow.
That Tom Savini did. I think that's probably one of the underappreciated remakes, of a classic movie, because it's tough to. I mean, let's just call it like it is. You got to have some nerves of steel or big ass balls to do a remake of a George Romero movie.
Yeah, Savini could pull it off, though. I think he did a great job. A couple of side notes to that. When it aired, they played it at Grauman's Chinese Theater. If you were dressed like a zombie, you got in free. So me and my friends went over across the street, and we got a bunch of ketchup packets and spread ketchup all over our face so we could get into the movie free, and walked in like zombies.
Hey, and I wanted to remind everybody watching, if you're watching this, share it. The more you share it, the more people get to see it, the more we get to do these type of things. Nigel says Mermaid in a Manhole is a great Japanese movie. I haven't seen that.
Nope. I've seen it.
Sherrod says Zombie is awesome. Love that one. Night of the Creeps, Jonathan Pope says that's up there for him.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Michael says, sure, without Romero, zombies might not even be a thing. I agree with that.
Yeah,
he never called them zombies in the script either.
Yeah, they didn't call them anything in the original one.
And Jonathan also said, can't leave out Phantasm. And that's actually on my list later on, Phantasm. Justice League, scariest movie ever. I hear you. Matt, let's do his list. Dawn of the Dead, The Exorcist, The Howling, Day of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, The Thing, Day of the Dead. You got that twice. Maniac, Friday the 13th, and Hellraiser.
You really like Day of the Dead.
Yep. But my next one on number 8 is a French film. I'm glad I don't think anybody ever tried to remake this, but it was ahead of its time. High Tension. I love the scene where the guy violates the lady's head and leaves it out there. Very disturbing. But it was just a marvelous work of horror that had a good color. Lately I've been stuck on coloring because I watched a movie. I'm gonna diverse. I watched what I wanted to be a pretty good movie called Arkansas. It's not horror, but it was on Amazon for rent with Vince Vaughn, Miley Cyrus's ex-husband, Liam Hemsworth, and John Malkovich. But it's like they spent all the movie on the stars, but didn't spend any money on the camera or the coloring. So I'm big on coloring lately, and I love the color and feel of High Tension. Did you enjoy High Tension, Mark?
Extremely. I worked with the director on Prana 3D, and he speaks French, and so I had to deal with an interpreter. And Prana 3D was a really difficult show for me, and I don't think I kicked ass on that show as much as I wanted to. But I did love working with the director, and he was a huge horror fan and a hard partier. But he was a great guy to work with. I just think my situation working 6-day weeks in Lake Havasu altered my performance. I wish I did a better job on Piranha 3D. It was a difficult show for me. I enjoyed the concept. I enjoyed working with the actors, and I enjoyed that director a lot. High Tension was it kind of at that point was when it came out was one of the first films that started doing those weird twists at the very end where you think you don't realize the victim is the killer at the very end, which was a great twist. I really like that film a lot, and I like the violence in it too.
Johnny says Suspiria, Infernal, Mother of Tears, Maniac, Deep Red, Zombie, The New York Ripper, Demons, and Macabre Opera's his. Brian says, how about Christine? Christine didn't make my list, but it is a good movie. I did see the original, the High Tension. What is it called? I Spit on Your Grave. That's a good one.
I like the remake even.
Alex says Christine again. Mark says Hills Run Red. That's a good one. And Brian says The Car. What's the next one on your list?
Well, I got for number 8. It's Halloween. I mean, it's another one of the movies that fluctuates on my list. And it was the first time that I was just balls to the wall, frightened. I saw that at a drive-in, and I remember sneaking in some of my friends from TSOL and a band called The Hated. They were in my trunk. We brought them all. We snuck them all in, and we watched it at a drive-in. And I just remember just all of us just being frightened the hell out of us. It's the greatest, I think, slasher film ever made. But I also wanted to say that I'm going to go with number 8 variations of it: Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Psycho, Trick or Treat, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Devil's Rejects, Funny Games, Nightbreed, and Jaws. All are kind of in that vein for number 8 for me. But Halloween wins.
Yeah, Halloween is my number 3 on my list. Angel says, what's up? We're talking. Hey, Angel, welcome. We're talking about our top 10 favorite horror movies. Be sure to share and, comment with yours. Angela says Halloween is number 1 for her. I agree. It's up there. Jamie says Sleepaway Camp. First Rob Zombie Halloween. That was a good one. I know somebody that worked on them things.
Yeah.
Sixth Sense. I would classify Sixth Sense, Debbie, as more of a thriller, but yeah, it's kind of a horror.
That worked for me. I always have that one guy that goes, "Oh, I saw that coming," but I didn't. I didn't see it coming. It was brilliant to me.
Love the psychosexual demons. That's what Johnny Blaze says. Angela says funny games is so disturbing. The Exorcist and the Entity. The Entity is a good one too.
Yeah, it's a good one. Didn't make my list. It should have. It's a good one.
Where do you guys rank The Shining in all-time horror movies? Where do you rank it? Rank it, Mark?
It's number 2. That's why I'm wearing the shirt.
Well, when I go down my list, next to High Tension, I got The Exorcist. That's where I rank The Exorcist as my number 7. And that movie just scared the crap out of me. I mean, even when I watch it now, it is disturbing. I mean, it's just a messed up movie. I mean, I went to the original Exorcist stairs in DC where they filmed.
I would love to do that.
We were drunk at 3 a.m. and
that's the best time to do it and be it.
Spooky as crap.
Yeah. Did you ever read the book?
Yes. The William Peter Blatty. It's a crazy book. The whole concept of the demon possession, I feel like it hasn't really been done as good and shocking as The Exorcist did. It's hard. It's the cream of the crop.
It can't be. We're never going to have. I don't think, as an American-made film, where a 12-year-old girl is masturbating till she's bleeding with a cross saying, "Make Jesus fuck me, let Jesus." I mean, that is horrifying, just horrifying. And the fact that there's so many things in that movie that are just unbelievably horrifying. And the director did so many things in that film that he should have never got away with. He physically hurt actors. He did things that by today's standard he would have been, if not in prison, he would have been fined thousands of dollars for. It's a brilliant film, brilliant director. But yeah, he got away with a lot of horrible shit in that movie.
Yeah, and I heard some stories about how some of the actors were getting hurt, and they were like, "If we do another take, will you take it easy on me?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna take it easy." And then behind their backs, he's like, "Go full speed,"
And because I do weapons on films, a lot of directors up and coming want to do this trick, which you can't let them do it. When the priest is listening to the backward masking and the phone rings and he jumps, what William did is he took a full load 38, stuck it by the priest's head, and he fires the gun off. He's reacting to the gun going off of his head. Now, without hearing protection, that you can get he got hearing damage from that.
Wow.
And I was on a show, some piece of shit show in Arizona, and I was doing guns. And the director wanted to do that behind an actress, and he wanted a full load gun fired. And I said, "I'll do that, but she has to have hearing protection. The crew needs to know that there's going to be fire in the hole." And I got fired from that show, and I was sent back home because I would not work with the director. And if that director would have did that by today's standard, and that crew would have went after him, they would have went after me too. And I have to, when I'm doing that stuff, I always have to take the crew into consideration. And I would never do that. Exorcist is my number 1 film, but what he did in that film to get those reactions, he shouldn't have. I wish he would have did it differently, but whatever he did was brilliant, and it's one of the greatest films ever made.
Let me go ahead. We got quite a bit of comments. And like I said, everybody watching, be sure to share. If you're not following the page, follow the page. Brian says The Shining is great. Michael recommends Audition. The Audition is great.
Yeah, it's disturbing.
The Exorcism is great. Is definitely top 10. And you said it's your number 1.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
That's okay. The Hills Have Eyes. That's a shocking movie.
Yeah, and the remake, which is our director from Haunt Tension, did the remake. It was good.
Really?
Yeah, he directed Haunt Tension. Aja, blah blah blah, French guy.
Yeah, Michael quoted a thing. Jamie Poltergeist. Yeah, that's a good movie. That didn't make my list though. The Fun House. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Hellraiser. Hellraiser be in my honorable mention, but the original Hellraiser was slow to me. It's just
Oh,
like
really?
a love story. It was
Yeah.
about a woman doing anything to get her old lover back, you know.
Yeah.
Danny says, "What's up, Sergeant Horror? Mark, great movies you guys have named off. The Exorcist is one hell of a movie. I couldn't sleep for weeks."
Yeah.
Jovi says, "Martyrs, that was good. I just
Yeah, that was good. Weird.
Event Horizon,
That's a weird one.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose. That's what Liz says. Feast,
I worked on Feast.
The Last House on the Left, the original one. I think the original and the remake of Last House on the Left is disturbing. For me, when you have something like that, that's just disturbing.
I was working on Sarah Connor Chronicles, and one of the main actors was a Terminator on the show, and he had just did the remake, and he brought me over, and I got to watch the microwave scene where they microwave his head. He had it on his phone, and I was like a highlight of working on it. I love stuff like that. I love when I could see little snippets of things that no one else could see at the time. But yeah, just real quick about The Exorcist, I got to throw this in there. Yeah. Me and a guy named Marco Melrose got detained by the police because we were in high school and there was a movie theater showing The Exorcist, and we snuck in there. And during The Exorcist, he started on one side of the theater and I started on the other. We'd stick our head up and go, "What a lovely day for an exorcism," and scare the living shit out of you could literally hear people screaming on the opposite side and on our side until the security guards chased us down, and they got us trying to sneak under a hole into the fence, and we got detained and we had to call our parents, and my parents had to come down, and we had to explain them we were just scaring the shit out of people. But that's my Exorcist story, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, as Brian says. Martha says Rose Shanks. I'm not familiar with that. Children of the Corn. I like Children of the Corn.
At the very end, when the corn stalks were on fire, I screamed out, "The sequel, Children of the Popcorn!" My friend was in it, so she was upset that I would call out and make cat calls on that film.
Yeah, I liked the movie. It was one of those two little kids. What is Malachi?
Yeah,
they were creepy. I seen them when they got older. They looked creepy when they were older too.
Yeah,
you know. And The People Under the Stairs. Yep, that would be on my honorable mention list.
I like that film a lot. My biggest problem with that movie is their hair is perfect. All those guys under the stairs that've been trapped there forever. If you look at, they all look like they were in Poison. They all had this like golden locks, and it just bothered me for some reason. But whatever. But I love the film.
Sarah says It, or I guess you talk about the original It, or maybe the remake.
Oh, the remake's good.
It Chapter 2, I didn't really like that.
Really? I loved it. I ate it up.
Have you heard anything about this? The set of The Exorcist was haunted?
Yeah. Yeah. There's documentaries on, there was fatalities, and the Pazuzu statue came up missing and they couldn't find it. I've heard about that. I don't buy into it. They did have a lot of problems, but it was a difficult film set, but yeah, I heard that.
Jill says Silence of the Lambs. I do think Silence of the Lambs is horror.
I do too. Buffalo Bill. I mean, it's a brilliant film, and Anthony Hopkins is just frightening in that film. I love that film.
Yeah. Guess where are we at? Number 6. Mine is the original Evil Dead. And I appreciated the remake too. I was very pleased with the remake.
I think we jumped the gun. I think we're in number 7. Did you do number 7?
Yeah, The Exorcist.
Okay, I didn't get to do mine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right. My number 7 is John Carpenter's The Thing. I also have Aliens, Predator, Event Horizon, and Planet of the Apes, which is pretty much sci-fi, not horror. But I want to throw it in there because. But yeah, I think The Thing, John Carpenter's Thing to this day is mind blowing. I think when it came out, I think the movie was so intense that people couldn't understand it, because the movie bombed when it first came out, and it is so brilliant. The performances are brilliant, but those effects are just frighteningly brilliant. I loved it. But okay, now we can go to 6.
I like the Thing. I thought I liked the remake too. I mean, that wasn't a bad remake. It didn't disrespect the original, which some of these remakes I feel like they do disrespect the original. But the Thing, when I heard you said that, I was like, man, that probably should have been on my list because I like the Thing too. My number 6 is The Evil Dead. I just don't like the Evil Dead franchise as a comedy. I like it as a horror. And some of those jump scares in The Evil Dead, if I've had a drink or two, still get to me to this day. Mark said that The Thing is a classic. And Michael says The Thing is top 3 all-time sci-fi horror. Alex wants to know, is that a movie like Under the Skin? I think if you're talking about The Thing, Alex, I'd say go check it out. It's definitely worth watching. Now, which one is your number 6, Mark?
American Werewolf in London. I also have The Howling, Wolf, and the remake of The Wolfman. I also like. A lot of people did, but American Werewolf in London is, to me, always going to be in my top 10. I think John Landis was at the top of his game when he made this movie. I mean, he had made things like The Blues Brothers and Animal House. He was just the director. Had it not been for Twilight Zone, which is a tragic accident, Innocent Blood would have probably been 20 times better. He's one of our greatest directors. He screwed up and killed people. And I think that haunts him every day, and that affects every judgment he makes after that. And he's just not become the director that he was going to be. And I don't blame John Landis for the killing of Vic Morrow and those 2 children. I blame the AD, because a director like I said, I got fired because a director wanted something. It's my job to protect the crew. When I'm doing weapons. It's my job to make sure no one gets hurt. It's my job to make sure that gun is not pointing directly at the actor. It's slightly, off to the side, so when it fires, he won't get peppered. That's my job. And if the director, he's not a weapons guy, he wants his vision to be brilliant. John Landis wants it. He wanted those explosions to be phenomenal. He wanted that helicopter to drop in. He's a great action director, and nobody had the balls to go, Mr. Landis, you can't do that. Mr. Landis, we can't have children that are not in the union in the shot. Nobody had the balls to say that. And I blame the AD and I blame the stunt coordinator. Both those guys should have been, you shouldn't say Landis on it. I don't even know who those guys are. I don't know who those guys are. I don't know who the girl was that killed Brandon Lee. Those people are the names. These are people that were idiots and allowed it. A director is going to want to make the greatest movie of all time. And when you look at Animal House and Blues Brothers, when you look at the Blues Brothers in the mall, I mean, this guy is just making this insane, incredible, car stunts, and it was brilliant to watch. And American Werewolf in London, when everything goes awry and people are getting thrown out of cars and heads are getting chopped off, it was just brilliant. And John Landis was on the top of his game. And John Landis is also, what I loved about American Werewolf is we were allowed to laugh. I love movies that, it's funny, but it doesn't take away from the movie. It's not like he did takes to the camera. It was, the characters were funny. Kevin Naughton and Griffin, I can't think of his name. They were brilliant in that movie and never really did anything again that I thought was that great, but they were brilliant in that movie. And I think American Werewolf in London is one of the greatest horror films in my top 10.
I like that one. When you say werewolf, one of the things that kind of sticks in my mind, I think it's a movie called In the Company of Wolves.
Yeah, I remember that.
That wedding scene, and that was pretty kind
of. Yeah, no, that was good. I like that. I like that, and I also liked in Trick or Treat when the girls all started turning into werewolves and stuff. It's always a great, even in The Howling, when they all start changing. It's pretty exciting.
Michael wants to know, Mark, what do you think about Shaun of the Dead?
I think one of the most brilliant comedy horror films ever made. It's I don't know if it made my top 10. I think it might have because it was a comedy. Shaun of the Dead, What We Do in the Shadows, I always bring up because I love it. Dead Alive, Ghostbusters, even Ghost and Mr. Chicken. I love those kind of films. You know, I'm Mr. You know, if it's a horror film, I want it to be rated R. But a comedy horror, it could be PG. You know, it's about comedy horror, and I like that. But Shaun of the Dead didn't pull any punches. Shaun of the Dead, you know, that was an homage to Dawn of the Dead, 100%. And you know, and I loved it. I love those actors too, Peg and that guy. I loved Hot Fuzz, and I love these guys. It was just a brilliant film.
We got a little debate in the comments here. Someone said The Green Inferno was a good film, but then someone else said that it was a cheap copy of Cannibal Holocaust.
Well, yeah, I mean, they didn't pull punches on that. That was obvious. It was Cannibal Holocaust without torturing animals.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Eli Roth fan.
I like Cabin Fever. I worked with Eli a couple of times, and I think I'm jealous of him, so I don't want to say anything negative. I find myself being jealous of actors, but he was in Piranha 3D. But I was doing the remake of 10,000 Maniacs, and he was kind of like the hidden producer. He kind of like was the voice telling people what to do. And I had just finished working on Devil's Rejects, and then I went on to House of 10,000 Maniacs, and I had gone to Eli and I said, hey, you know, Kane Hodder isn't going to be in Freddy versus Jason, and kids are kind of upset about that. He's over there doing stunts on Devil's Rejects. Do you want to try to get him over here and just do a cameo with Robert Englund? Because Robert Englund starred in a remake. And he's going, yeah. And so we went over there and we asked Rob, and we got Kane to he worked the day. He got a day's job on it. And there's a great scene where they're looking at each other. And Eli said, you know, I did this for the fans, which he did, which was cool. But Kane told me like years later that he thought that Rob was upset with him because he left, you know, he didn't leave that day. We didn't bring him that day. It was a couple of days later. And I always feel bad because I just thought it would be a cool thing to do. But Eli Roth was up for it. So I have to admit, Eli was cool about that.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, Cabin Fever is probably the worst horror movie ever made.
Oh, really?
And if I'm not a big fan, I feel like Eli's a fraud. I mean, I just call it like a food. Wow. He helped manipulate the stock prices with Cabin Fever for Lionsgate.
Wow.
You know,
what did you think of Hostel?
I mean, Hostel was good. I mean, it was good. I'll give him credit on that. But Eli was built as like he was the next generation of horror. Yeah. He never really lived up to what he was billed as. Now, maybe I shouldn't blame him for the lack of him doing that, but I felt like he didn't make enough original horror movies to get the reputation that he's got. I would have liked to have seen him do more.
He's going to do more though. He's working on it. We'll see. You know, he's a cat that I think I'll be working with again. So I have to watch my tongue.
I mean, if he won't talk to me, he can come on here and defend himself. But they did manipulate the stock prices for Lionsgate. You can Google that and see it. What they did was they said that they had this great movie that was going to make so much money and raised a bunch of money off of his hype. And pretty much the only reason Eli got in was to Quentin Tarantino vouched for him. But I mean, I ain't gonna beat up on the little guy. I mean, if I see him, maybe I'll have a talk with him.
I remember I had gotten the mold to the little Pazuzu head from The Exorcist, and I had made a couple of them, and I gave him one. Every time he saw me, he would say, "Hey, I still have that head from The Exorcist you gave me." So I thought it was cool that he acknowledged that he remembered me.
Williams list is Night of the Living Dead, The Exorcist, The Omen. The Omen's a good movie. This one's for you. It's all for you, Damien, when she hung herself.
Yeah, I love that scene.
Halloween, Friday the 13th, The Howling, Psycho, The Shining, Werewolf in London, and the Universal Studio monster movies. That's a good list, William.
Yeah, that's similar to mine.
American Werewolf in London is amazing. Wish we had more werewolf movies. Just Till Dawn, Mark said.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Dawn of the Dead original. Yep, Bonnie, that was on Dawn of the Dead. 2000 Maniacs. I love listening to hearing these guys' comments on it. Hostel was a long wait for a little horror payoff. That's true, Angela. Grave Encounters, that's a good found footage horror movie. Cabin in the Woods, Sarah. I like Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, you know what? It didn't make my list, and now that I see that, I thought that was fantastic. I love it.
Michael says Eli is the UWE ball of horror. I don't know what does that mean.
It's funny because I did House of the Dead too, but this Evil is one of the worst directors that's ever walked the earth. He's a huge ego. His movies suck. Yeah, he's definitely dissing Eli there.
Oh, okay. He's better than Rob Zombie. No, I like Rob Zombie better than Eli Roth.
You got a lot of haters for Rob.
And I'm gonna tell you this: we're Hollywood's fucking up. I'll use the F word because I feel strongly about this with Rob Zombie. As y'all know, when y'all was gonna make legendary pictures, you guys out there, you guys are a bunch of damn idiots. You should have hired Rob Zombie for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot/remake. He would have killed it.
Yeah,
he would have brought back Bill Moseley as Chop Top. He would have had Sharon Moon as Leatherface's sister. I mean, it would have been crazy. He might would have even had Sergeant Horror up there in the attic cooking up some pigs or people. I mean, it would have been amazing. Y'all need to reverse that because I saw the casting call this week for Leatherface, the reboot, and they want a 60-year-old Leatherface for the movie. Yeah. What the heck are y'all going to do with a 60-year-old Leatherface? They're going to mess it up. And that's one of my favorite horror movies. But what's your number 5, Mark? I've been going first. I will let you go first on this one.
My number 5 is a classic horror film that I bring up all the time, the original Haunting. I also want to say in this vein, I like The Grudge and The Changeling, Burnt Offerings, Haunting of Hill House, Evil Dead 2, House on Haunted Hill. I like that whole haunted deal, but out of all of them, it's The Haunting. This is a movie, to this day, if it's raining outside, you know, pour yourself something to drink, and you sit down and watch that film. There's absolutely no monsters in it, no blood, no gore, but wow, the suspense is amazing. The performances are great, and it's scary as all hell. It'll always be in my top 10.
That's a good one. My number 5 is a little picture called Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
That's a good one.
I love that movie. It's just so disturbing / realistic. What about your number 4?
Okay. What We Do in the Shadows. I also want to mention, here we go with our comedies: Dead Alive, Ghostbusters, Zombieland, Shaun of the Dead, Killer Clowns, Beetlejuice, Monsters Go Home, Ghost and Mr. Chicken. For this type of vein of comedy horror, What We Do in the Shadows is just a brilliant documentary we brought it up last time, but I love that film. Mad Monster. I remember getting the phone call from Evan going, "Hey, we're gonna be able to get Peter from What We Do in the Shadows." I go, "What? They're from Australia?" He goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "I think we're gonna be able to get Deacon, and the makeup artist is gonna remake Peter." I was like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever heard of." And sure enough, Mad Monster had and Deacon came and Peter came in costume. My friend Jared Fleury recreated his complete costume. They brought the makeup artist who had just finished Fury Road from Mad Max, and he did the makeup exactly like Peter. Deacon was Deacon, and they did their interview and their show and tell and stuff in character, and it was one of the greatest convention experiences I've ever witnessed. And I go to all these conventions. I've gone to Horror Hound and I've gone to Days of the Dead. And they're like going to the swap meet. When it comes to Mad Monster, when Evan does this stuff, it's like history in the making. Not only that, and I don't mind going on a tangent. Obviously, I'm a Mad Monster boy, but when you go to those conventions and Evan goes through the length. I mean, he flew the makeup artist from Australia to make sure everything was perfect. And it was brilliant. It was a brilliant experience. And one of those things I'll never forget. And that's what I think. And I sound like a ad for Mad Monster, but that's what makes Mad Monster so amazing. You have horror experiences that you would never have experienced. The fact that Sid Haig used to make our drink, you'd be open bar and Sid Haig would be out there making our drinks. Or, it was just it's something I look forward to every time they do that show. But what we do in the shadows, the actors, and now you got everybody in that movie has gone on to do bigger and greater things. But to this day, it's one of the greatest comedy horror films I've ever seen, up there with Shaun of the Dead. But and also the TV show, I think they do a great job on the TV show too.
We'll go ahead to the comments. Michael says that The Haunting is a great classic that shows how ambience can create the aurora of fear without blood and guts.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a gore whore. I love my gore. I love slashing. I love the blonde bimbo with the big boobs getting chopped up. I'm very sensitive. And that sounds funny, but I cry at stupid love comedy things. But I there's something about gore that I've always loved, that horror, frightening experience. But The Haunting does not rely on that at all. It's just brilliant. That makes the suspense in that movie is just brilliant.
Sarah says Reanimator.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Going down here too. We're getting a lot of comments, and we appreciate you guys commenting because I love seeing what your guys' top 10 and favorites are better than I do like telling y'all about mine. And that's the thing, when we get on here and we do these live feeds, it ain't all about us just talking to you. We want to hear what you guys got to say, or what you guys got to do, what you think. And if you got a question for us, drop it in the comments and let us know. Be sure, check out the website and see articles by me and Mark on madmonster.com. If you're interested in submitting articles, send us a DM and I'll send you the email address to submit your articles to. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, as Alex says, that's creepy and funny.
Yeah, hey Alex, do you want to see a remake of that, or do you want to see a sequel to that? I'm just curious.
That would be interesting to see how they do it. Edward says Scary Movie 2. Take my hand. Oh, my other hand is stronger. A strong hand.
Yeah.
Sarah says The Fly. The Fly was very disturbing.
Now, is she talking about the remake or?
Not sure. She just says The Fly. Black Christmas, the original. Mark said.
The original, not that remake they destroyed.
Bogey Creek.
Yeah, Bigfoot.
Angela says the celebrity picture experience at Mad Monster are top notch. We appreciate that, Angela. Willow Creek. Yep. I did a movie with one of the producers from Willow Creek, a film that hadn't got released yet, called Behind the Sightings. It's a clown picture.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Kind of a found footage clown movie.
Kind of a stretch for you, isn't it?
I don't really like clowns. I don't get along with many clowns. Jovi says she was there and it was epic. With I'm imagining you're talking about the what we do in the shadows. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Would y'all want to see a remake of Killer Clowns in Outer Space? Let us know. Tales from the Crypt, the 1972. Tell you, Sarah's got some good taste in movies now, Sarah. Bonnie says, oh, yeah. Anyone who loves horror movie owes it to themselves to watch The Haunting. I kind of want to rewatch it this weekend. I watch horror movies every day. I do. I honestly do.
The TV show that they did of The Haunting pays a really good homage to The Haunting, and I like it too. I liked it a lot too. A lot of people didn't care for it, but they did a lot of really cool Easter eggs where they'd put ghosts in scenes in the background, and if you didn't see it, you didn't see it. And if you watch it very close, like you really have to watch it over and over again. They put all these like creepy things in it that I really like. I respect that. I like that.
Jamie says Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yay, right there. There he is right there.
And Michael says this is his first time on the stream and must say this stream is the top 10 Facebook streams of all time. Thanks for the stream, Sergeant and Mark. Well, we appreciate that, Michael, and we appreciate you guys joining in. That's one of the reasons why we get on here is because as a horror community, I think it's good to talk and discuss because there's really no wrong answers when you're talking about what your favorite is of this, that, and other. We welcome everybody's opinion. And I always learn from other people because I'm amazed how, like, I had forgot about The Haunting, and then you brought it up, and I'm like, man, I got to go watch that. And that's what's so great about, discussing horror. Liz says that she wants to see Yes to Killer Clowns 2. Alex says Killer Clowns, ? Duel says Robert.
Was Duel a horror film? I mean, that was Spielberg directing. That was a TV movie, wasn't it? Where the guy was being chased by the truck on the road. It was a good movie. It was one of Spielberg's first films. The original Fly. Okay. All right.
Sarah says original Fly, and like I said,
it's fine.
The Ring. James says that was a good one.
Yeah, I screwed with people after that movie. When that movie, well, the Japanese version, I liked the American. Thought the Japanese one was off the hook. But I remember whenever like a friend of mine was saying that they went and saw it, we'd call them up 7 days. That was the thing to do.
Yeah, I remember that. Terrifier. I love Art the Clown better than I like the movie. I ain't gonna lie. But I'd be interested to see what happens with Terrifier too. They're very talented. I talked to Damon at Mad Monster last year. He was very excited about what was going to happen in Terrifier 2. So I'm really pleased that he got to do a sequel because he's a super nice guy, New York guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I built a prop for Terrifier 2 that was never in the movie. I just wanted him to sign it, and what it was a machete with a clown horn on the side, and I had him sign it. And I just made it just for me, but I love the fact that he signed it.
Alex says original and the new Fly are super good. Videodrome also.
Cronenberg, whatever happened to him? He just stopped making movies.
I watched. I was got to hang out with these two beautiful young ladies, the Soska sisters, and they just did a Cronenberg remake of Rapid, and they did a good job.
I saw an ad for that. I want to see that.
It was one of the few movies that I kind of like turned away from in certain scenes, and that takes a lot to make me turn away. But they said that a Christian production company acquired the rights mistakenly to Rapid, thinking it was a movie about dogs.
Or Rapture.
Yeah. And they're like, what do we do with this? We own the rights to it. And somebody's like, call the Soska sisters. That's two female directors. I don't care if they're female or male. They're just two damn good directors all around. I like those young ladies.
Yeah, I want to see that movie. I definitely want. I like the logo with she had a bandage around her mouth or something, and it was all bloody. It looked good.
They got banned from Twitter for that too.
What's that?
They got banned from Twitter for a little while for showing stills from the Rapid.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. The Descent, Sean says. Welcome, Sean.
Yeah, I love The Descent.
The Birds.
Yeah, I love Hitchcock.
Bonnie said loved it. No remake, no clown content.
Okay.
Devil's Rejects. Liz says she likes Jeff Glowburn.
Is Liz the one that's saying The Fly, the remake of The Fly? Is that why she's saying Jeff?
Yeah, she likes the remake.
I
Nightbreed.
had a quick Jeff Goldblum commercial. Well, I was working on a show for ABC Family called Switched at Birth, and right next door to stage was they were doing a commercial with Jeff Goldblum, and he came out from his trailer and was walking to the set, and one of the key grips was by him, and my friend knew the key grip, and he goes, "Hey, what's up, dog?" And Jeff Goldblum thought he was talking to him, and Jeff Goldblum goes, "Not much, dog. What's up with you?" It was just really a funny moment I wanted to share with you for some weird.
I love those stories, Mark. I really do.
I have a million of them because they're all like little snippets of just bizarre being at the right place at the right time kind of thing.
And he says Nightbreed. Nightbreed is a good horror movie.
My favorite Clive Barker film.
Bonnie says yes. I imagine that's yes to the remake or sequel. Tony says House of a Thousand Corpses. The Descent is the best horror movie of the 2000s.
I agree.
Don't Go Into the House. The House on Haunted Hill original. She loves the older movies as well as the original. I Spit on Your Grave. Jason says, good seeing you, Mark Richardson.
Good seeing you, Jason Richardson. Are we related?
Alex says that video game with the pyramid head was scary. I think you're talking about Silent Hill. That Silent Hill.
Oh, yeah. Somebody was playing during the beginning of quarantine. They were playing the alarms from The Purge and from Silent Hill out of their car, which I love.
Jamie says the Haunted is basically the Conjuring 4. Train to Busan, even with the subtitles, it had me on edge.
That's a great zombie film. Really good.
Love most of the Clive Barker stuff, Lord of Illusion and Hellraiser. And they're doing a Hellraiser series on HBO, but it's like I don't have much faith in it because they got them same dudes that was doing the Halloween on there, the Danny McBride and David Gordon. So, I mean, I don't know if they're going to give us a serious Hellraiser or one of these crappy little remakes like they've been doing lately with the last few. To me, if you don't have Doug Bradley in it, it's not a Hellraiser.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I wish them success. I want to see them do good. I'm rooting for you, but I know you're probably going to mess it up.
When they did the remake of Nightmare without Robert Englund, and Freddy's Robert Englund. There's, it's just the way it is.
Mark says Bugs is a good movie from the 70s. James says Pet Sematary. Tony says he want to see a remake of Spider Baby.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a good call.
What
about you? Do you want to see a remake? I know a lot of people don't want to see remakes.
It depends on who they get to direct them. I always kind of complain about who they get. Like when they did the Leatherface, the prequel, Millennium Films got the rights to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then they filmed it in Belgium.
Yeah.
I mean, Bulgaria, I'm sorry. Yeah, it depends on the talent that they attach to them. Like they're going to do a Candyman, but they got an inexperienced director attached to it. And yeah, Jordan Peele is producing it, but he also produced that shitty-ass Twilight Zone that they got on TV that I really don't care for either. And they're giving that a second series. They could have saved the money from the budget of that and produced more independent horror movies. But Hey, I'm just opinionated, and everybody got an opinion.
I'm not a big fan of remakes, but because of movies like The Thing, it shuts my mouth up. But I would kind of want to see Shockwaves as a remake if it was done right. I just love the idea of these aquatic, zombies that got Nazi zombies that got lost underwater, and just come wandering up, decades later, but as these weird underwater Nazi creatures. I just love that idea.
Alex says Cronenberg's son made Antiviral, which was a excellent collab with Landy Jones' vehicle, but bloodier than scarier.
Wow.
Edward says, "What's the matter? You don't like clown kids?"
God, I missed it, Haig.
I got to meet him a couple of times. He definitely had an influence on me. Was Mark in the movie Creature from the Black Lagoon?
Thank you very much. Yeah, maybe you know me as my other name, Ben Chapman. No, I'm in my house, and I wanted a cool background. So every time I do these things, we're always going to do a different film in the back of me. But I'm a huge Creature of the Black Lagoon fan, obviously.
Michael says The Hidden from 1987.
Underrated movie. I mean, that movie people don't bring up. That's a great movie. I love that movie.
And Anna says, "Amen to Doug Bradley and Robert. If they are going to do Hellraiser, change up the Cenobites, make Pinhead a hot chick or something. Something. Love the female version. I think there should be a male and a female version of Pinhead. I'd be for that.
Yeah.
Let me go back to the list. What were we on? Number 4, right?
Yeah.
What's your number 4, Mark? I'll let you go.
Oh, no, we're on number 3.
Oh.
Or did you do 4? Did you do your 4? Because I did my 4.
I didn't do my 4.
Okay, let's hear yours.
My 4 is the Poughkeepsie Tapes.
Yeah, I remember you bringing that up.
I love that movie. It's a weird movie. If it was underground for a while, it's on Amazon Prime. I ain't gonna spoil it for you guys, but if y'all hadn't watched the Poughkeepsie Tapes, watch it. Director and producer brothers is the one that did it, Twidle, and they're the ones that I wanted them to get for the Halloween remakes, but they didn't. So number 3, what's your number 3, Mark?
Number 3, I'm going across the board because I cannot come up with it ever. I'm going for number 3, my Universal classic horror films. I might have a day where Frankenstein's the greatest movie of all, number 3, but the next day Dracula, next day Bride of Frankenstein, Wolfman. I can't. Even The Invisible Man. Across the board, that whole genre of movie making, which created me, making me the way I am, is because of these films. But they're my number 3, and it's just like across the board, all those Universal classic monsters. I can't get enough of them. I could watch one of those films a day and be a happy man. I question it now. Like in Dracula, I want to know why a little pill bug has a little coffin. Remember this in Dracula, where they're showing Dracula and he crawls out of the coffin. It's elegant and creepy, and then they cut to a little wooden coffin with a pill bug climbing out. And I always think Bella going, "Oh, my little bug, I have made you this little coffin." I'm sure it's supposed to be like a giant monster bug, but every time it's one of those scenes that are just like, what the hell? Because it's such a great classic film for them to have that and those goddamn little people in the jars. The fact that I'll bring it up every time I'm watching Bride of the Frankenstein, which is such a great film, and all of a sudden the guy pulls out a jar and has the devil in it. It's like, what the hell? It's always for some reason you accept it, but it's just so bizarre. But the classic horror films are number 3 for me.
Get back to some of these comments. Man, Sarah's got some good taste. Something Wicked This Way Comes. That's one of my favorites. It should have made the
Clicking of my
list.
thumb.
I forgot about that one. That was just spooky.
Yeah, good one.
It scared me as a kid. Sleepwalkers. Annie said Love Lady in White as a child. Vince Price, Wax movie.
Yeah.
Victoria Price's, Vincent Price's daughter, she did a heck of a speech at Mad Monster. If you guys ever get a chance to see her give a speech, she's just one very nice heck of a lady. All good movies, Bonnie says. The original Night of the Living Dead, they're coming to get you. Yeah.
The Wrath. Wow.
Dakota says, Sergeant Hart, what's up, man? What's going on, Dakota? Hope y'all guys are doing good. House of Wax. Blackula.
Blackula is a really creepy movie. He's a great vampire. I really enjoyed that film. I wish they would have made a bunch of that stuff because it's just it was great exploitation, but he's badass in that movie.
Alex says, is it a reference to his helper Renfro, the bug eater dude?
I don't think so. I and God, I love Dwight Fry so much, but I mean, Renfield wasn't even there because it was the very first that scene. Renfield just showed up, so he was still a normal guy. But I don't know why they have that. It's just, I think it was just because it's such a weird looking bug. I mean, they have armadillos, coming out of coffins and stuff. That in that scene, that's just very odd to me. But whatever.
Angela says Cat's Eye scared the crap out of her as a kid. That troll at the end, yep. Mark said Orphan is good, and there's going to be a second one.
I like that director.
Sean, he said The Wicker Man.
The original one.
And Angela said 30 Days of Night. I like that one. I like that sound. That
Yeah.
What's your next one, Mark? What's your number 3?
Two. We're on 2. Here we go. I mean, I gave all this away, but The Shining, Shining's one of those films. All these films that I've mentioned, I can watch over and over and over again. But I could watch The Shining. I could just have it on a loop. I should just have a picture frame and just have it on. It's just, if it's on television and I'm doing something, I have to stop and watch this. Jack Nicholson's performance in this film is so brilliant. To watch him turn from a loving father to a psychopath, and you watch it happen. The claustrophobia of being in that house, the ghosts, everything about that movie, and the book itself too. Here's another book. I mean, The Shining really goes away from the book, but the book is so scary. But the movie The Shining, to me, is one of the all-time classic horror house movies. I love it. I love The Shining. Number 2.
My number 2 is one of the movies that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. I snuck and watched it when I wasn't supposed to. And it's the original Friday the 13th. I almost changed that with a close second of Friday the 13th, number 2, because I love the jump scare from number 2 when the cat jumps in. And she opens the refrigerator and it's Pamela's head, and somebody called me with some bull crap, and I'm going to say it's some bull crap because I get fired up when somebody tells me some nonsense, that said that Pamela in part 1 was being controlled by Jason. No, she wasn't. Jason wasn't in part one. That was a flashback dream sequence. So technically he wasn't physically there. And if you do the math of age, he couldn't be a kid in part 1 and then be an adult in part 2, And I might have to write an article and explore that a little more. But, I don't believe Pamela Voorhees was being controlled by Jason, Uh, The Shining is one of my favorite comfort movies, is what Michelle says. Edward says Hills Have Eyes. Crumpus
Yeah,
James.
I love Crumpus.
I like that. And what's that? What's that one Northern something where they have the Santas? I forget it. Um, Kubrick films are like deep dove listening to the Shining podcast. Amazing. Yet Kubrick was pretty much a crazy director. I mean, he was a lot of people that worked for him said he was a psychopath. Um, which I think that's possible. He obviously can't defend himself.
Well, I mean, if you look, Shelley Duvall, said she had a nervous breakdown after The Shining, and when they show behind the scenes footage of what they put her through to get that performance out of her, I mean, once again, it worked, but uh, was it necessary to torture a person to get that performance? It worked. It's a brilliant film, so I don't know.
I'm going to jump down to my number one, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's just my favorite. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think that just captures the spirit of horror, the spirit of independent filmmaking, and I just love it. And I loved how it let you. It wasn't. I love gore, but they didn't clearly have a budget for a lot of
Hardly any
gore.
blood at all in it.
Wasn't any blood at all in it, but in my mind, it felt like it was a lot of blood in it. And that's what amazed me about that is he didn't have no money. He had, I think, they made $100,000 movie. It went out there and did it, and I absolutely love it. And I don't think that anything in the franchise has came close to what the original was. And I think Gunnar Hansen is probably the best Leatherface ever.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, Gunnar to Gunnar. That whole opening scene at the graveyard where they're taking photos, the gazing, gazing, and they would be black, and then you'd see a flash of skeleton remains made into like effed up artwork. When I first saw that, I was like, "What am I watching?" I mean, you and I are. I don't. It's hard to tell how old you are, but watching this stuff in the theaters when there had been nothing like that before, absolutely nothing like that. I just remember just being terrified. It was such a great, and I'll tell you something. I don't think people realize it. I mean, people go to Six Flags Magic Mountain and they go on these rides to scare the hell out of them because they enjoy it. It's scary. That's what we want in a horror film. We want that horrifying leap of faith that you're going to be safe somewhere, but at the same time you might not be. And that Texas Chainsaw Massacre brings that. I mean, it is a scream film. There's scenes in that movie that really makes you paranoid and sink back into your seat or cover your eyes and kind of look through the crack to hopefully, I don't know why you do that, like that's going to protect you from them, but that's the kind of film that does that. I love it. I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And they ripped off Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sean Cunningham ripped off Texas Chainsaw Massacre when they did part 2 of Friday the 13th, because it was so disturbing that they killed Franklin, who was an annoying character in the movie. But everybody was like, they killed a guy in a wheelchair, and then in part 2, they got a guy in a wheelchair. But I think a lot of people don't realize horror is like an equal opportunity killing fest. I mean, there's, high tension, with the LGBT thing was ahead of its time, men, women, kids. I mean, horror genre has always been open to killers killing anybody. So that's one thing I like about horror is I think it's a very inclusive community. Angela says I need to go to the gas station barbecue in Texas. I'm gonna go. Sean says Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was all shot during the day, which tells you can make a scary movie during the day. I agree. Dakota says Devil's Rejects. Neither did many classics, but the chill you imagine was brilliant. I think Edwards referring to the blood scenes. Uh, Tony says, I can't stand the guy scratching his head with the coat hanger. That's on part 2. And I kind of have mixed feelings about the whole Chop Top Sawyer character because I kind of wanted them to bring back the original Hitchhiker.
Yeah.
And if they let Rob do a remake and they said, Sergeant Horror, how would you write the script? I would bring back both Chop Top and the original Hitchhiker because I think they need to be brothers. Yeah, I understand somebody's going to say that the original Hitchhiker got ran over by the truck. But I'd put these creepy braces on his legs, like the old school metal braces, and bring him back. I mean, whew, it would be an amazing movie. Do you ever do that, Mark? Do you ever like sit there and play fantasy horror and just dream of how you would make it a horror movie?
Yeah, I mean, when I watch a film, a lot of times the things that I would think was scarier, or they should have did this or that. I do that all the time, you know. It's funny because people that love horror, you know, we're horror snobs, you know. Because we've seen Suspiria 28 times, we think we're an authority on it. And I'm that guy. I'm a horror snob. I think that, you know, I can make the ultimate horror film. And I work on horror films. And I see how difficult it is to make these films. But yeah, I'm always wanting it to be my version, or I could do this better, or this is what I would do. But yeah.
Yeah, when I see a lot of times we check it, especially writing for Mad Monsters, we check out what's going on, and you hear different press releases and stuff, and it's like I hear somebody sends me a casting call for a 60-year-old Leatherface. Sometimes I just get mad. I'm like, what the heck are these people doing? Yeah. And then I was so excited when they were going to do the Twilight Zone, and they just messed that up. I mean, they totally messed that up. Anything that can happen in real life is scary. Cujo got me. That's what Sarah says. Mark, do you like the Halloween series?
Yeah, I'm a huge Michael Myers fan.
Now, I think maybe next week, depending on what your schedule's like, maybe we need to have a Halloween special, and let's talk about these Halloween movies and the remake that they got coming out, because Halloween Kills is coming out.
Is it coming out? Or are they going to show it, like stream it or something?
They're going to have to do something because, I mean, it's made. They did test audiences already. AMC Theaters banned in Universal Pictures, which I think is stupid. And they're probably going to end up, if they apply the same rule to AMC that AMC applied to Universal, then they probably going to end up banning Disney too, because Disney CEO said they're going to stream more movies. I mean,
what are they going to show? They're going to show Amway commercials. They'll have nothing to show. We talked about this last time. I think it's fake. It's just making it up. But yeah. I want to talk about my number one.
Yep. What's your number one, Mark?
And I brought it up over and over again. Well, I want to talk about Halloween 3, because I think not Halloween 3, Exorcist 3, because I think it's brilliant. But Exorcist will always be, I think, I just don't think anyone's going to top it for me. You know, being the most, horrifying experience I ever had in the theater was watching that movie. I think it's one of the scariest films ever made. And there's a lot of things in it that's laughable. They're in the hospital and the doctor's talking, smoking a cigarette, or, he's saying she needs, certain medications that we know is ridiculous, but still, there's still scenes in that movie that just really tears me up. Every time I watch it, I'm shocked by what they got away with. And when I think of, when they did it, this is early 70s, as I was 73, the fact that they did these things is just amazing to me. But yeah, The Exorcist is number one for me. Hey, what do you think of this film? There's two films that we didn't bring up, and I never see anymore. One is Dreamscape. Have you ever seen this film, Dreamscape?
It doesn't ring a bell.
You know, I'm sure a lot of viewers have seen it and stuff. What's weird about Dreamscape? It came out way before Friday the Third. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street. Well, they can go into your dreams and assassin you. And one of the characters, and the character is David Patrick Kelly, who's most famous for the guy in The Warriors going, "Warriors, come out and play!" Yay! Who's a brilliant actor. He's an assassin, and he goes and he's going to assassinate the president. And the president is always is freaking out about nuclear war. That's his greatest fear. So he comes up to him, and he's all burnt up, and he's in his dream, and he pulls out his hand, and blades come out of his hand, and he reaches in to the security guard that's protecting the president and pulls out his heart. And it's so weird when you see this film and know that it came out like years. I think it was 3 years before Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's the same exact concept. You know, the same. It's just part of the storyline, but I've always wondered if it was just one of those Addams Family Monsters things where they just were working on something similar at the same time, or if somebody, you know, saw that and said, "This is, you know, this would make a great character." And the other movie is Fade to Black. Did you ever see Fade to Black?
No.
Fade to Black is a guy. He's a movie buff, and he loves horror films and he loves movies, and he kills his grandmother, and with the inheritance, he goes around getting revenge, but he gets revenge recreating movies, classic films, and kills them in that vein. And I think I'd love to see a new version of that where, you know, with the horror films that we have, this guy that goes around killing people, you know, one time he's Jason, one time he's Fred, you know, because they actually use this, you know, the characters from those movies. I think it'd be a fun slasher film to do, but I just wanted to throw those out there.
Michelle said The Exorcist, her aunt claimed it made her faint in the theater.
Great.
Sarah says that the theaters will lose a lot of money if they stop playing horror. I agree. Dakota says they think that Freddy was made from him, referred to the dreamscape.
Yeah, I do too. Maybe.
Alex says he's going to check out Dreamscape. And Metallica must have seen Fade to Black and didn't realize it was a movie.
Metallica's Fade to Black is totally different, but that is my favorite Metallica song. I love that song.
I used to be a Metallica fan, but I ain't not too much.
I love Fade to Black.
Dakota says Wicked Little Things. And Jason says Hatchet. Hatchet.
Kane Hodder.
Kane Hodder running around hatcheting up, and I like independent horror movies like Hatchet. I think that they're pretty good. I like Kane. He's a good actor. He's definitely one of my favorite Jasons. He just wasn't in the best of the Jason movies.
When I was doing Queen of the South, the showrunner did Hatchet, and I was constantly, because she's tight with Kane, I wanted to bring Kane in to be an assassin on the show, to work for the cartel, just an episode, you know. But I'm always trying to get Kane in this stuff, and obviously I get him in trouble. But I did when I did Room 6, I got him to be a demon. I just like 3 films that I was able to talk them into bringing Kane into, because I really like the guy. But one of the films. Oh, yeah, one of the films that he did like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre scene in it. It was pretty funny. I can't remember the film.
Hey, Michelle wants to know what you think about Ed Wood films.
I love Plan 9 just because I love Vampira. You know, I love Bela Lugosi's last film. I think, you know, I've done such low, you know, I worked for Corman, I worked for Troma, I worked for real low budget companies. So when I see movies like Ed Wood, you know, I get it. You know, I think there was a niche there with Ed Wood. I like Ed Wood.
Jay Carpenter said that Amityville Horror was a good one. I liked Amityville Horror, but to me, part two, The Possession, was probably my favorite. Um, Driller Killer, I remember that. Mark says Driller Killer. You mentioned Bela Lugosi, and it made me think of and maybe we do a live on this and talk about it. Is I got to watching Ghost Adventures, and I was like wondering if it was real or not. And I'm the type of person I like to do my own independent research. So we flew out to Vegas, and I went to Zach Bagans' museum, and he has Bela Lugosi's mirror. And you have to sign a waiver because, Bela Lugosi was into the occult stuff. And he believed, looking through magic mirrors and all that kind of crazy crap.
I didn't know this. This is amazing.
Yeah, so Zach Bagans got Bela Lugosi's actual mirror, and they got it covered up. And if you sign a waiver, you can look into Bela Lugosi's mirror. And I looked into it. Ain't nothing happened to me. We went to retract some of Zach Bagans' episodes and went to actual locations up in Goldfield, Nevada, which is about 3.5 hours north of Vegas. And I went and spent 3 nights at the Clown Motel and went to the Mizpah Hotel. And I believe it was crazy. I think there might be a little bit of truth to that Ghost Adventure stuff. I don't know.
Wait,
Are
we talking about these guys, the Ghost Adventurers? Is that show?
The Zach Bagans guy, the Ghost Adventures.
Yeah. All right.
I stayed 3 nights at that Clown Motel. And
all right. Linda Vista Hospital. They've done like 3 total series on it. I did a movie called, and there was another movie called Evolution, but I just did Evolution there, and these guys come in there. And it's a low budget film. When I do low budget films, I'd bring my 3 daughters with me. And so they would go ghost hunting. So they're going through Linda Vista Hotel with flashlights by themselves. My wife calls me up and goes, "Hey, they're talking about Linda Vista Hotel, and they found some of your props." And the Ghost Adventurers had found some of I'd made like these screwed up dolls and clowns and stuff, and they're showing them, talking about how they're possessed and stuff. And I'm like, oh my! And it was just stuff that I left behind. There's a lot of places I've gone because I love going to these places. And to be honest with you, if you and I would go to these things, I would love that. I would love you in character as Sergeant Horror we'll go down. I guarantee one thing you and I won't do when we're in a haunted house and there's some apparition. You know what we won't do? We won't scream and say, "What was that?" and run out of the room. These guys are supposed to be professional paranormal, investigators, and they're afraid of their shadows. I was at who took the axe and gave their mother 40 whacks? Lizzie Borden's house, yeah. And they had just been there. And I was going, "Oh, the Ghost Adventures were there?" And they goes, "Yeah." They didn't stay. They just came in, took some pictures, videotaped something, and left. They never spend the night there. That's all fake. Those guys are the fakest fakes that can fake the world. I only because I've been behind them. I've gone to where they've gone to locations. Every time I watch these guys, my hairs stand up. And the fact that they get to go to these great locations and make up their crap, it destroys me. I say you and I, let's go to a haunted house. Let's you and I do an investigation. I guarantee you we'll do a better job.
We ought to go up to the Clown Motel up there and go outside of Goldfield and Tonopah. And there's another hotel called the Mizpah Hotel. They're right down the street from each other. And I actually have the Mizpah Hotel. We went in there. I thought it was an automated voice recording that was motion sensor, but it wasn't. Me and another person heard this, and I ain't saying it was a ghost, but there was only 2 of us in there, and we weren't talking. But we went to the basement. The manager took us in the basement of Mizpah, and I got dirt from the room.
That's badass.
And they locked us in this vault where some miners were killed. And, it's different when you see it on TV. You're like, okay, that could have been faked. But we got an actual picture of an orb. And I had never, because I'm not a professional ghost hunter. I'm just curious, see the stuff on TV and like, hell, let me go out and check it out. I did scream like a little girl and run one time when I filmed 2 paranormal documentaries. I was very run and gun type of thing. I worked with a team called Wicked Wonders, and something grabbed a hold of me and it was nobody else there. And I did scream, and that was the first time that I've ever felt something.
Well, we should do a podcast about haunting, because that's what my wife and I have been doing for decades. We've gone to every haunted place there is, and we've experienced so much and did so much as far as I don't want to get into it right now, but and not to mention that my wife is an avid Queen Mary person. She's the authority through the Queen Mary because she knows so much about it. And her project, what's the Queen Mary project that you do? It's Para Explorer Project. Para Explorer Project. Yeah, and this is legit investigation. This isn't let's make up stuff for entertain. These guys need to entertain you, so they're gonna try to come up with stuff. I don't care for it because it's fake. If they do it, like if they did like drunk ghost hunting or hot babes ghost hunting, it would be more entertaining to me because it's so fake. But we should do this. You and I should. I would love to do this with you, and we have the equipment. We have the spots.
Jason said, "Good seeing you, Mark. Thanks to you and Sergeant Horror for doing this. We appreciate you tuning in, Jason." That's Jason. I think y'all kin to each other.
Yeah. Thanks, Jason.
Scheduled the haunted podcast in advance so people can share their ghost pics. I have an amazing one.
We should do this. It's great.
Next Friday. Let's talk about ghosts next Friday.
You got it.
I have an Ovilus, and we'll talk about that and the other type of advices the next Friday. Ghosts, goblins, creepy crap, real life stuff. We'll go talk about it.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience from and fake experience that we scared crew members at certain locations that are known to be haunted locations that we filmed at.
Michael says we should host Mad Monster ghost hunts for fans. That's definitely, we could do that. That's something we could do. Dakota says you guys are awesome. Now, what I think is awesome, I appreciate that. But I think you guys that are out here following us, listening to us, sitting here talk about horror, because a lot of people. I remember when I first started. You start talking about horror movies, people think you're a weirdo. They won't beat up on you, things like that, and they don't realize it's just one big family. And that's one thing I really like coming on with you, Mark, is because we let the fans talk, and I value the fans' opinion, and I appreciate you guys. You guys doing this, and Sarah, you definitely impressed me. She said she's glad we're doing this. Growing up with nothing to watch or anyone to talk to about her love for horror is awesome. Well, Sarah, you got a great taste in horror movies, and we appreciate you coming on and watching us. I say we jump off here. We've been on here an hour and a half. I got some liquor to drink, some victims to entertain. Next Friday, let's do it up and talk about ghosts. You down for it, Mark?
I'm totally down for it.
Okay, then. Well, y'all take care. Any closing words, Mark?
No, I just want to say I really enjoy doing this. I hope this grows into something because I'm having a lot of fun doing this stuff. Yeah, I'm sure as soon as I hang up, I'll have something. But it was great talking with you.
It was great talking with you, and we appreciate you guys. If you guys want to see more of this, then what we need you to do is invite all your friends to like the Mad Monster page, share this out, follow us on YouTube, and we'll keep talking horror as long as you guys keep participating. But for Mad Monster and Sergeant Horror, Mark, you take care, And I hope everybody stays safe and have a great weekend.
See you later.